Hello and welcome, my Kingdom Creative Connective Collective. And today I'm talking about where are we going with Kingdom Creative Connective Collective. Well, I wanted to start off with the fact that as we're coming to the end and close of the year, I wanted to update a lot of things that I'm seeing as potential changes that we are going to be working on for the Connective Collective. About 2 months ago, I created a website that I was working on to be our community, but that was a beta website that I wanted to work on as the actual community for our group. Right now, I am working out some kinks, but as things come together and progress, I actually am in the process of doing something special with that is more in alignment with what it is that I desire to create for this community. So, what is this community? As I take my time and I sit and I work out what I really want to do with this community, I know that I want to make this community a community for creators that are seeking out the ability to have a safe space that is a place that you will be able to communicate, group, grow together. So I know that I needed to take time out to figure out what was really driving my focus for this community for you guys. And I know that it's a creative community, but sometimes it can get lost in the process as to what I want to do with it. And that was where I was at. I wanted to find the best way to create a environment that would best serve the people that were coming into this community. So for me, I had to take an evaluation even of myself. What was the passion that was driving me? Was I being driven by the pride of desiring to build something great and to create something that I can say that I achieved through the creation of it, or was I driven by peace? Meaning, I felt comfortable in the flow in which things were being built, things were being developed, and the ease of flow of how things are going. Sometimes, as creatives, we can get caught in the machine of creativity. A lot of us enjoy being creative, but the machine of creativity can sometimes make us feel like we have to perform. And for performers, you tend to want to perform. And sometimes you can become accustomed to a factor that you kind of almost develop a presentation about yourself when you are in a state that you feel like you need to perform. I remember I was watching an interview with an influencer on Tamron Hall, and she was talking about how she had to literally detach herself from her creation of what she created with her influence in order to dial back and understand what it was that she was really doing. And being that we are at the point of seed form of creation of what it is I'm developing, I know that I needed to hone in on what I wanted this to be about and not be driven by the fact of I want to do something and I want to give this to people and I want and I want and I want and I want. That becomes I, and I is a pride thing. It can become very pride driven and it needs to become a we and a us thing that can be done in an ease of flow of what it is that I want to create, though creating the solution for you, which becomes a we thing, not just a me thing. And I know that I want to have ease of flow. We all are creatives, we all have desires, but in what it is that we are creating and desiring to create, we need to be able to make sure that that thing that we are creating can be developed into something that can build us a sustainable income over time that will become a legacy for us and our children. I kind of live by the scripture that speaks about that. How do I pronounce this? I'm drawing a blank. This always happens. But I kind of live by the fact that you want to create a legacy that is for what it is that you put your hands to. As you put your hands to it, you are developing assets that will bless you from generations to come. And for all of the generations that will be blessed behind that, you don't want to just create anything. There needs to be an ease to it. You need to look at the practicality of it. What season are you in your life are you in? How that can be used, what it is that you're desiring to develop, how you're planning to develop that, what you're doing, how you can use that in an all over balance. For instance, I enjoy creating podcasts. I actually have 3 podcasts. At this particular moment, I'm looking into a new one that I want to create. That's my personal baby. The one that I started at the beginning of the year. And then the one that I started last November that I have an idea I want to revamp it with. New image, new everything. More focused on what it was that I initially created that podcast for and expounding on it. And for me, podcasting is an opportunity to inform and to promote. It can become a promotional tool, but I don't want it to become a salesy opportunity where it feels like I'm selling to you. I want you to feel like you are in an environment that you are gaining information and wisdom about things that you need, but you are also gaining understanding to other projects and things that I'm working on. And it's not just here, buy my t-shirt, here, buy my mug, here, buy my I'm not that kind of person. I want to show you a new way and a route that opens you up to gaining information that is useful for what it is that you are pursuing in this season. Because as creatives, we see three different forms of creative. You got the newbie, which is just discovered, I want to be a creative. Maybe you left your job in this great resignation that we've seen occur, and you're trying to figure out, well, what am I going to do now? You're that creative that you just got the epiphany. I'm going to get back to my roots, the things that I was passionate about and I love, and maybe, just maybe, I can use that to gain an income. And I want to be the catalyst to help you. Okay, what's that creativity thing? How can I help you brainstorm and develop an avenue that you can turn that thing into not just a hobby, but a business? There are people that are making money and have made money in the last 2 years that came from an idea and went into a 4-store option with options to put their things in other places. So it's understanding that you have the ability to create something that's lucrative and that can grow, that can gain you financial freedom over time. There's somebody I know that quotes, I think her name is Cece, the six-figure chick. She sadly passed away about 2 years ago. But what ended up happening was because she created a business that stood on a series of systems that her family could easily stand in her stead, she created a form of generational wealth with her videos, her content, her programs, the things that she created, her knowledge that is going to bless her family and her children for years to come. As long as the internet is still available and she and her stuff can be sold on it. And they could even take it off and put it on whatever type of media type if they get a deal for that. But leaving something that, God forbid anything happened to you, you have a legacy. This is things that a lot of artists miss. If you're a new artist or somebody that is a creative, that is that struggling creative artist, you don't know that you can start something and develop something that can help others over time. It's understanding the key little things, understanding the fact that you can take your creativity, invest what little money you do have, because most people say, oh, I'm a starving artist. Well, what are you doing with the little bit that you have? A lot of artists would take all their extended finances and invest it solely into their art. What's blessed me is that I invested my money in coaches. I invested my time in teaching. I invested my time in understanding certain things. I invested myself into learning what I needed to know, and I invested money into not only my art, but into my giving. Because if you hear nothing else from me, understand this: seed multiplies after its own kind. If I sow money, it is going to return back to me. So if I choose to do something financially for someone, or sow into a church and bless someone, it's going to replicate. There was times in years past that all I had was 2 pennies to rub together, literally. And what I did was I took those 2 pennies, because I couldn't do anything else with it, walked into my local church, and I sowed those 2 pennies. I remember when I first started sowing money, I used to go to the local churches in my city and just drop whatever change I had into their mailbox. And it started to multiply. It went from change to dollars, dollars to tens, tens to hundreds, and it multiplied. So imagine being a creative and taking that and then taking and turning it, splitting that. You got your necessities, you got the things that you need for your art projects. Then you got what it is that you are giving, and then you're saving some of that. So let's say you got $300 and you take that money and you open up a bank account and you split the money up into those 4 areas. This is for my necessities. This is for my art projects. This is for my savings. This is for my tithing. And as you sow into your tithing efforts, the rest of the money multiplies. How do I know? In February, somebody randomly contacted me that I hadn't talked to in years, and they gave me $5,000. Last year in August, I opened up my bank account and it had $12,750 in it. I sold $1,275 into my church. When you sow, it multiplies. That's the best advice I can give you. Now imagine doing that and seeing the multiplication. Imagine getting a job and you taking that money and you're multiplying it. I remember Lisa Nichols said that when she first started her business, she had whatever check that she had at the work that she was doing, she would double the seed that she sold into her bank every time she got a check. And when she could no longer double it, she started getting rid of unneeded necessities. She left her home. She got rid of her car. She sold everything in order to make sure that she was able to double it every time she sold into her bank account. In 3 years, she went to check that bank account. It had $66,000 in it. As a creative, what could you do with $66,000 that you saved up? We have to think about these things. Then invest. Then create secure credit cards. I got a secure credit card about 6 months ago. And I paid it off month after month. At this particular point now, I have 1,015 points. And it's increasing my credit just because I'm getting things that I need. I use Audible because I listen to books, whether they're Christian books or business books or what have you, or things that I'm looking for that inspire me. Spotify, it attaches to my podcast, so it's good to have it because that links it into my broadcasts, my podcast broadcasts. The music is linked. I invest in Amazon Prime and other little things, but those little things are what built up those points. Anytime I had any type of purchase, paying my cell phone bill, any of those types of things, I would use that on my secure credit. Once you get enough secure credit, you can then go, once you have a website, an EIN, a address that you can use, whether you use a office space, if you can afford to do an office, or you use your home address. Then you can go to a bank with your paperwork and get an actual bank account and a secured business credit card for what it is that you're doing, and slowly invest and scale up. You only use those bank accounts for business, and you only use that business credit card for business exchanges. But it's an opportunity to grow what it is that you're doing. It's about building. And then you look at the types of streams of income. Are you an artist? Are you a writer? Are you a cook? Are you a this? Are you a that? How can you create content while you're building that can be containers that once you get your secured credit card, and once you get your business stuff taken care of, and once you create a LLC, sole proprietor, then put it under the junction of an LLC to cover you, you now can take all of your gifts and your talents, those things that you were collecting and developing, that you were passionate about, and put them under a corporate umbrella of an LLC. Get business insurance, get personal insurance. If you want to buy a property or lease out a property, real estate, then you're securing yourself from fraud on all areas. We have to think as creatives, because are we doing this as a hobby? How many of us are trying to sit here and spend all of this time, all of our energy, when we fought with no money to sit and continue to operate with no money? Or are we trying to build something that's going to leave us a legacy so that we are developing something that can be left behind to our children? Because the ones that are running around not securing themselves are going to be those artists that are going to stay unknown. And then you have those artists that you see that fought, toiled, got out there, put themselves out there, became independent, had enough clout to collaborate, and ended up in labels with enough creative control that they out there millionaires right now. And they don't have to completely follow the rules of what the industries that they're working in, because they have the creative freedom to produce the content that they want and create a legacy for their families. Because legacy should be the gold no matter what. That's what I'm out here for. That's what I want to do. I'm that person that wants to help the person that's just starting. I'm the person that wants to help the artist that they understand what they want to do, but they finances messed up and they don't have the right financial foundation. I'm the person that, if the Lord allows, I will help the people that are coming out of those industries. Somebody once told me that you have the ability that you could walk into corporate situations and help people that are struggling get themselves sorted out. That is what I want to do in the creative field. But I want to create it and help people. That's where my heart lies. And while I'm doing that, I'm creating my own legacy with my own creative endeavors. But I'm helping as I go. Seed multiplies after its own kind. So as I sow into others to help you guys in this community, I'm doing the same for myself in the back end. And people are helping me on the back end. Seed multiplies after its own kind, for it says in the word that if man gives into his bosom, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, shall they receive at the same measure of faith in which they have. I have faith in this, that we are going to be able to create something beautiful together. And I'm going to leave you with this. I was looking at a clip yesterday of the artist Prince, and he was talking about how when he first started as a musician, he worked with a company. I think he was working with Warner Brothers when he got signed. And when he was signed, he became more lucrative. And the more money he made, the more he decided to do his own projects. And he was making more than what the executives that he worked with in the label were able to keep up with. So he came back to them and said, how can we have an even trade-off here? Because I want to create my art and I want to make sure that you guys are getting what you want. But the problem with most labels, if they are not independent, is that they want a cut of their own. And as it goes, I'll never forget, I was on a business conference call about 6 years ago, and the gentleman made the point of saying that he had went to a board meeting with record label execs, and he came in with the best proposal because, see, he had background in how he could scale companies from being a $5,000 company to a $50,000 company in a matter of 6 months. And he said, well, I figured if I'm coming to a label and they're going to sign me for a $20 million deal, I'm straight, because I can take that money and I can multiply it, and I'm good because I know how to multiply and do the best I can with what I have. Seed and multiply. But you see, when he told those executives that information, they literally turned around and told him, we can't sign you because you're too smart. It's time for us as creatives to be too smart for these industries that we're going into. So, for Taj McCameron at Creative Connective Collective, until next time, love, faith, peace, and blessings. Let's become smarter than our smartphones, shall we? Bye-bye.